and introduce generational reforms of the special educational needs system. My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public services.
Shalom, Israel, shalom, shalom. This is Brother Wariala, and this is my channel, Rise Up Israel. First and foremost, I would like to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, who the world will call God, again, Jehovah. Many people call him Yahweh, but his real name is Yahweh in the Paleo-Hebrew. And I do so in the name of his only begotten Son, who the world will call Jesus Christ, whose name is Yahweh Shai. Right? So as we can see by the introduction of this video, King Charles, at the opening of his Parliament speech, expresses that his ministers will proceed with the introduction of the digital ID. He's stating that this will modernize how citizens interact with public services, right? What are public services? Public services are things like government having access to government services, right? So the digital ID is this system where citizens can go to use, or will be having to go to use, secure digital identity to access government services such as healthcare, taxes, benefits, voting related systems, or verification processes for more online efficiency. So I'm going to start this back over. Yeah.
Of the special educational needs system. My ministers will also proceed with the introduction of digital ID that will modernize how citizens interact with public services. Alongside strong public services and a strong economy, the highest standards of trust in public office are essential for the social contract and the United Kingdom's collective security. My government will introduce the Hillsborough Law to bring forward a duty of candour for public servants. My ministers will also introduce legislation to enable peerages to be removed. My government will bring forward proposals that strengthen the delivery, accountability, innovation, and productivity of the civil service.
So just hear what he's talking about, right? He talks about his ministers going about to push out and push this digital ID agenda, right? Notice how immediately after he mentions the digital ID, the speech starts to shift towards trust, ethics, and the social contract between the government and its citizens. So pretty much in context, he's saying, people must trust that the leaders use these systems responsibly. That's what he's talking about. He speaks on things about how government officials must act ethically, and citizens need to coincide, need pretty much to grow in their confidence to help improve the productivity of these digital systems. So why would someone have to bring up ethical standards when talking about a digital ID? Because a digital ID can be used to manipulate and to control the masses, and that's the purpose of it, right? He also mentioned how this is a collective sense of security of the United Kingdom. So they're framing this modernization as a way to build national stability and security, and this will help with a more efficient government. This is what his speech is about. This is the craziest. It's insane. It's weird what this is turning into, So just hear what we're talking about here. We're talking about a government where or a body where people will have to have a specific ID to count as their form of identification among all platforms. Everything's going to be connected. There's no more, you know, this is going to end up hurting a cash society where someone who doesn't have a digital ID would maybe want to get services from somewhere. Now everyone that has this is going to have to be a part of this one big plan, right? And understand this one thing: this is coming to a city near you.
At the very same time, another massive technological change is quietly arriving. Apple has introduced a new digital ID system. Now, iPhone users in America, they can add passport information directly into their Apple Wallet. Yes, your passport inside your phone. No paper, no booklet, no physical ID at the airport checkpoints. Users simply can scan their passport, verify the identity, complete their facial authentication, and store the digital version inside their wallet. At airport security, travelers can just tap the phone near TSA scanners and that's it. But before people celebrate, there's an important catch here. This digital ID, it cannot replace international passports and cannot be used for crossing the borders. Still, this is the future arriving in real time.
So now America doesn't have this single mandatory national digital ID system, right, for all of its citizens, right? But there are several developing forms of digital ID. You know, the new ID that came out, and when that came out, which was last year, people people cannot travel domestically unless they have this digital ID or unless they have a passport. So you cannot get on your plane and fly somewhere unless you have your digital ID. Oh no, your new ID. And if you don't have a new ID, you have to have a passport. So there's no more flying domestically and just getting on, showing that you paid, and then getting off somewhere else. Now you have to have some form of identification, you know, such as a passport or a new ID. Do you see how they're starting to close the grip or starting to strangle, you know? And that's what the scripture says will happen. Let me grab this real quick in the book of Revelation 13. And verse 11, and it says this: And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and spake as a dragon. Right. So it says that this beast had two horns like a lamb, but spake as a dragon. Right. Let's just look real quick. What is the word for dragon in the Greek? Right. The word for dragon in the Greek. Here we go. In this context, right? The word for dragon, G1404, drakon, right? And here's what it pops up in the Thayer lexicon: a dragon, a great serpent, a name for Satan, right? A fabulous serpent. So all a dragon is just a bigger serpent. It's just a bigger serpent. That's all it is. So understand that this dragon is no other than a sneaky, deceptive beast, you know. But it speaks like a lamb. What does a lamb represent? Something that's docile, that needs a leader, that's lost, that's peaceable, that provides no harm. Right? Lambs really don't have don't have any sense of threat. A lamb is portrayed as docile, not able to do much. Christ is likened to a lamb led to the slaughter, because and if you look at how when he was crucified, he put up no threat. He did nothing. he didn't put up a fight. He was dragged along, however, wherever, which way they wanted to take him. So a lamb is very docile and is easy to manipulate and to take over, right? So it says that he had two horns like a lamb, meaning he acted like he as if he were a lamb. Took the image of a lamb. This is the definition of a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? This is a wolf, but they're in sheep's clothing. Why is that a thing? Because what does a sheep clothing represent? Peaceable, right? But speaking as a dragon. How does a dragon speak? About to grab this for you right here in Psalms chapter 58. Book of Psalms chapter 58. And we'll start at verse 2. It says, Yea, and in heart ye work wickedness. Ye weigh the violence of your hands in the earth. The wicked are estranged from the womb. So who's the subject of this? The wicked. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. So what do we see? We see that the a wicked person is estranged from the womb, that they go about speaking lies. So the wicked is the subject, and they go about speaking lies. I mean, this is what they're known for. They're known for lying and being deceitful, and that's what the beast represents. Acts like a lamb, but it talks like a dragon. It's deceitful, right? Let's keep reading. Their poison is like the poison of a serpent, right? They are like the deaf adder that stoppeth her ear, right? So the poison is like the poison of a serpent, because a serpent has a poisonous mouth. So a lot of snakes have fangs. There are a lot of venomous snakes, right? So when you think about this beast, think about it as something that is sneaky and subtle, and if you go near unto it, it will bite you when you least expect it. You know, but it represents lies and sneaky and slithering like a snake. You know, doesn't Sirach 21:2 say, "Flee from sin like as from the face of a serpent, for if thou goest too near it, it will bite thee. The teeth thereof are as the teeth of a lion slaying the souls of men." That's what this beast represents. A serpent. It'll lure you in with its movement. It'll seem like it's not going to do nothing at the last second. When it knows it has you in its grip, it goes about and bites you, right? Now again, that the whole purpose of it speaking as a dragon, which is a big meaning, it speaks great things, right? The scripture says in Daniel chapter 9, verse 24 and down, that the little horns will speak great things against the Most High, and that's what this beast does. It speaks great lies. You know, a regular lie would be something sneaky that a serpent does, but a great lie is what a dragon does, right? But nonetheless, I wanted to pull this up, right? A wolf in sheep's clothing, a person or thing that appears friendly or harmless, but is really hostile, right? The widespread belief that any British proposal was a wolf in sheep's clothing. What are the odds? What are the odds? Look, it just brought up the British proposal. What did the British just propose? They proposed digital ID. And oddly enough, look at, that's the spirit. The word, all I typed in was a wolf, and it says, look, a person or a thing that appears friendly or harmless, but is really hostile. Saying that the public must trust the government. They ought to trust the government in what they want to do. And they must have this thing show that this is good for economical growth and national security. But again, if you don't know any better, you wouldn't understand that the wicked cometh out about speaking lies. That's what they do. right? So it's important to keep these things in mind. But back to the video.
Governments worldwide are moving towards digital identity, biometric verification, facial recognition, and paperless travel. Convenient? Yes.
What'd you say?
Facial recognition worldwide are moving towards digital identity, biometric verification, facial recognition, and paperless travel. Convenient? Yes. But also controversial because many people fear surveillance.
Just think about what digital ID means. You don't have the luxury of being a human being anymore when you use digital ID. When this comes about, this is evident. This is where the world is going, right? You know what this means? This is what the digital ID essentially is, right? It's an electronic version of identity. It's a way that you identify a person instead of using things like a driver's license, Slovakia, a state ID or passports or any identity verification credentials. That all these things are going to be stored virtually, right? What does this mean? This means you're storing ID on your phone. You're storing your identity on your phone, meaning you're putting it in the cloud. Your digital blueprint. This is now out on in the world, and this is how you're going to be identified. It uses biometric verification, such as your facial recognition or your fingerprint, right? Or it'll just verify your identity using, online without carrying any physical documents. So now you'll be identifying yourself based off of your digital footprint rather than your literal footprint, right? And there are many states that already do it. We have things called an Apple Wallet now, or Google Wallet. So there's many other places that are starting to really make this a big thing, right? Like I just brought up earlier, Department of Homeland Security, they introduced the Real ID. And it's something that happened after 9/11. Right. Speaking of 9/11, we'll get to that in a few minutes. But this is where the world is going. Let's keep going.
Hacking, privacy risk, and data tracking. Apple says all information remains encrypted on the device. But the debate, it has already begun. The question is no longer, can digital identity happen? The question is, how much control are we willing to hand over? Now, here comes the story that could deeply worry Indians dreaming of America today. Because H-1B visa is the backbone of Indian migration to the US tech industry, right? Thousands of Indian engineers, developers, IT professionals, and students depend on it. Now, Mr. Trump's administration wants to make H-1B workers significantly more expensive.
Yeah, well, I don't really have much to speak on that note. But keep these things in mind as we continue to go, right? Next point. What did 9/11 do? The question I asked Google is, what did 9/11 do to increase or expand mass surveillance, right? So keep this in mind, because a lot of times they'll use drastic events to persuade the masses into following these protocols and make it easier, whether it's fear-mongering, some lie that they'll bring up to deceive everybody and cause them to believe in this, right? Let's read. It says, after 9/11, the U.S. government dramatically expanded mass surveillance using the Patriot Act of 2001 to justify widespread data collection. Key initiatives included the NSA vacuuming billions of location records, the FBI's ethnic mapping of communities, and warrantless surveillance. These actions created a massive, often invasive surveillance apparatus, right? So understand that events that happened, whether you believe they happened or not, ended up leading to something that takes away the control of the people. Now the people don't have any control whatsoever. Now they're being strangled. And now people are saying that in order to be able to buy and sell or get services, you have to have a specific ID. You have to be tapped into this government system. You gotta have your digital footprint with us if you want to do services. Public services like going to the hospital or getting certain benefits. You know, Lord forbid they do that with EBT. It's over with for half a Jake, for at least half a Jake. You know what I'm saying? So let's keep going. Patriot Act 2001 passed shortly after the attacks. This law allowed roving wiretaps and authorized the FBI to obtain any tangible things for investigation. Mass metadata collection. The NSA initiated widespread collection of phone metadata, records of who called whom, when, and for how long, often with little oversight. They've already been doing this, right? Stellar Wind, a secret program authorized by President Bush days after 9/11, allowing warrantless electronic surveillance, right? Section 702 of backdoor searches. This provision allows for the targeting of non-Americans but results in incidental collection of millions of Americans' communications. FBI agents have used this conduct backdoor searches on American citizens without warrants. All right, fusion centers and biometrics, DHS increased funding for surveillance at airports and created fusion centers that combined with AI technology. Right, these build geospatial maps to predict incident trends. You ever wonder how they start predicting or predicting terroristic events? By using this. Ethnic mapping. The FBI increased surveillance on Muslim communities utilizing informants and monitoring mosques. Right? How does this take a shift in privacy? The legal landscape shifted to prioritize national security over personal privacy. That's the point. They put you in a bind and tell you, do you want personal privacy or do you want national security? What do we hear about? What do we hear from Charles, or what many call King Charles? This is for the national safety. This is for national security. Let's keep going. Effectiveness question. Reports have shown that bulk collection programs produced little unique value, often duplicated more targeted, effective techniques. So we see how these things can turn into something crazy. And I want to grab this precept real quick, which, I mean, I'd be surprised if you didn't know I was coming here. But Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16, just think about everything I just brought up. And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right? Yeah, we get that part, right? But think about what he's asking all people to do. Let's just say that it's not the actual RFID chip, right? Let's just say it's just causing all people to do something, right? He calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, meaning everybody has to take part in this, in this type of identity. If they don't, look what happens. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. So just think about this. You can't engage in services unless you're tapped in with this system. Whether that'll be receiving a mark on your hand or on your forehead, or having the name of the beast or the number of his name. So keep these things in mind in these last days, man. And understand that what's going to happen is not going to be pretty. But that's why you got to keep your mind out of the ways of this world, right? And I got a couple precepts that we're going to end off on. I'll grab this real quick. And this is 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and 35. This is one of my favorite verses. It says, "Now listen to my message, you people who serve the Lord." So this is towards those who serve the Lord, right? It is the Lord's message to receive, so receive it and believe what he says. That disasters are approaching rapidly. and they will not be laid. A woman in the ninth month of her pregnancy may suffer labor pains for several hours, but when the time comes for the baby to be born, there is no longer any delay. All right, we're going to get to the point. In the same way, the disasters that are coming on the earth will not be delayed, and the world will groan when it is caught in its labor pains. Verse 40. Listen to my people, listen to my message, my people, and get ready for the battle. Right? We got to get ready. We got to stay ready, so we ain't got to get ready. We must stay vigilant. We must be on our P's and Q's. Let's keep reading. When the disasters come, you must live as people whose home is not in this world. What does that mean? You got to live like you don't even, you're not even from here. You got to be like, bro, I am an alien to this world, because we are aliens to this world. We are not from here. Keep these things in mind. When these disasters come, when they come door to door, banging on, breaking into people's houses, looting, grabbing, pillaging, raping, robbing, and murdering, and taking people into prison, you must live as people whose home is not in this world. We cannot be tied down to this world by Hashem Mashiach Yahushai, right? Merchants must not expect to make a profit from what they sell. They must be ready to run for their lives. Think about all the merchants in a time like this. You tell me you can't buy or sell unless you have a mark. What is that going to do to all the merchants? And that means a merchant of the most, a man that's a man of the Most High that just so happens to be a merchant that may have, that may be selling. He must not expect to make a profit from what he sells. What must he be ready to do? They must be ready to run for their lives. F all that other stuff. Forget all that, all your businesses and your business ventures that you had. That is no longer tied to you. Their customers must expect to lose whatever they buy. Again, if their customer is a man or a woman of the Most High, they can't be caught up into this. They gotta know that that this isn't their world. Whoever builds a house shall not plan to live in it. So we understand that we have to have the mindset that this is not where we're going to be at. We have that this is not our world, right? And I'll grab a few more precepts, because there's so many precepts that come to mind, right? Understanding this one thing. We'll start off right here. 2 Ezra 8:1. And he answered me, saying, the Most High hath made this world for many, but the world to come for few. So the world that we're living in now is made for so many people. All the richest and the wealthiest people on the face of this earth, this place was made for. But it was not made for us. We are not from this place. 2 Ezra 7:42, it says, he answered me and said, this present life is not the end, where much glory doth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak, but the day of doom shall be the end of this time. So understand that this world is not yours. The end of this time is going to be filled with doom, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. So understand that these things happening, we're not of this world. All the fun that we have, all this grief and the sadness that we're going through, we are not from here, right? What does the Lord command us to do? 2 Ezra 14 and verse I can start at 13. It says, now therefore set thine house in order. So understand that this is not our world. What does the Lord require us to do? To set our house in order and reprove thy people. Tell your people to stop sinning. Comfort such of them as be in trouble, and now renounce corruption. Let go from thee mortal thoughts, cast away the burdens of man, and put off now the weak nature. We got to cast off our mortal thoughts, our thoughts that put us into sadness and depression, or even surfeiting and lust, right? And set aside the thoughts that are most heavy unto thee, and haste thee to flee from these times. For yet greater evils than those which thou hast seen happen shall be done hereafter. So we must set aside these mortal thoughts and haste, meaning sprint, to flee from these times. Make haste to flee from these times, We don't want to live life like this. We don't want to get caught up in the judgment. We don't want to get caught up in the judgment of the Most High, where we get caught and get murdered by the Lord, right? This is Luke 21 and let me see. Luke 21 and 17, it says, "And you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but there shall not an hair of your head perish. In your presence possess ye your souls." So we got to keep our spirits right. Keep our spirits focused on the Most High, right? So I'm not going to beat a dead horse with that. We know not to be in this world. But one precept we should definitely tie to is the book of Sirach, chapter 12 and verse 10. And it says this: "Never trust thine enemy, for as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." Meaning, you should never trust your enemy. Just like as iron is sure to rust, so is his wickedness. Right? Speaking of the snake that portrays himself like a lamb, but is really a dragon. Look what it says. "Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass." Meaning, as if you wiped your mirror, and at first you couldn't see because of the fog, but now you can see clearly. "And thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away." Meaning, you will have known that, oh, this person is evil. This person is rusty. This person is decayed and rotten. You know? But with that, like, they give all honor and glory to the Most High God Yahweh. Bashim Mashiach Malak Hashai, Lord willing to edify video through the Spirit. Allow this to be an exhortation. You know, something to motivate you to trust in the Lord and to flee from these wicked times that we're in right now. I like to bet everybody strong. Shalom. Kwam Mashallah. Shalom.